The smoke alarm wouldn't stop chirping. Not because of smoke. Because the battery was dying. Again, I stood on the kitchen chair, shirtless, waving a spatula at it like some idiot gladiator. It was 2:03 a.m. Then came the vibration. The phone buzzed across the counter once, short and sharp, like it knew it carried something heavy. I stepped down, grease still on my hands from trying to reheat old pasta, and picked it up. "Stop controlling me like I'm your property." That was the text. No punctuation. Just that. I read it 3 times before blinking. I wasn't even sure she still had my number saved, considering she hadn't replied to anything I sent all week. Not to the photo of the rent notice. Not to the message about her aunt calling. Not even to the picture I sent of her dog. Our dog, curled up under the dining table, waiting for her. I looked at that message. Controlling. Property. Me? I hadn't seen her since Monday, when she packed a duffel bag with no socks and too much perfume. Said she was going somewhere to breathe. And yet here I was, in the apartment I still paid for, with her dog and her dishes and her half-used shampoo still in the shower, being told I was the one holding the leash. So I replied, "Then stop coming home like you're my wife." I didn't expect a response. I just tossed the phone next to the burnt saucepan and went back to fanning the alarm with an oven mitt. Then, buzz, 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 buzz. 15 missed calls. Not spread out. Not staggered. All in under 5 minutes. And suddenly, the apartment felt louder than ever. The dripping tap. The blinking microwave clock. The hum of the fridge. Everything became noise. She never called. Not even when my mother was in the hospital. Not even when I asked if she'd make it to our counseling session. But now? Now she couldn't stop. And that's when I noticed it. In the background of the last call attempt, my phone lit up again, this time with a name I didn't recognize. Reese from Bottega. A voice message. I didn't press play. I just stood there, oven mitt still in hand, watching the smoke alarm fall silent on its own. But I knew. I knew this wasn't about me being controlling. It was about me finally letting go. I didn't touch the phone again that night. It kept lighting up, buzzing across the counter like a dying insect trying to get my attention. I let it. I just sat on the floor beneath the smoke alarm, eating burnt pasta from the pot, and watching the blue glow of the fridge light flicker every few minutes like a haunted night light. I couldn't bring myself to listen to the voice message. Not because I was scared of what was in it. Because I already knew. Reese from Bottega. It wasn't a delivery guy. Not at 2 a.m. Not with a voice message that lasted 48 seconds. That's not food delivery. That's someone who feels entitled to speak. I checked Bottega's Instagram just to confirm what my gut already knew. Fancy wine bar, rooftop terrace, candlelit tables. 2 towns over. The kind of place where waiters wear black gloves and customers wear lies. And guess what? Their last tagged post from tonight. A group of smiling people clinking glasses had Delaney standing dead center in a red dress I hadn't seen before. Standing next to some guy with his hand on the small of her back. Not on her waist. Not on her shoulder. Right at the base of her spine. Intimate. I zoomed in so much the image turned into pixels. I don't know what I was hoping to find. A sign? Regret on her face? Maybe a look to the side, as if she felt bad? No. She looked free. She looked like I never existed. And that's the part that stuck with me more than anything she said. Not the controlling line. Not the silence. Not even the cheating I hadn't proven yet. It was that she could look like she didn't miss me. Like I'd been erased. I sat there for maybe an hour, just refreshing the photo, watching likes go up. Friends of hers heart reacting. One guy even commented, Fire still got it, girl." That one made my eye twitch. By 4 a.m., I was pacing the apartment in my socks. The phone had stopped buzzing. The missed calls sat in a neat row on the screen like silent accusations. I stared at the message bubble from Reese, unopened, taunting. But I never pressed play. Not because I didn't want to hear it, but because I didn't want her to know I'd listened. That's when I realized. She still had me wrapped around something. Guilt? History? Stupidity? I don't know. But I was still orbiting her, even after she'd clearly jumped ship. So I did something small. Petty. Desperate. I walked to the front door and flipped the lock. Not out of safety, but finality. If she came home tonight, if she forgot she was mad, or drunk, or just wanted to crash on our mattress out of habit, she'd find a locked door. She still had her key, but she'd have to choose to use it. To come back into this. To make a sound. But she never came. Not at 5. Not at 6. Not even by the time the birds started their smug little sunrise symphony. I just sat there, waiting like an unpaid guard dog in my own apartment, while the woman I married left voice messages for another man. Funny, isn't it? All these people warning about red flags, yet no one tells you what to do when you're surrounded by them, waist deep, and still pretending it's just bad lighting. But that morning, the lighting changed. Because at exactly 7:42 a.m., I got a new message. Not from her. Not from Reese. From an unknown number. One sentence. No name attached. You deserve the truth. She's been lying to both of us. At first, I thought it was a prank. A scam. Or maybe someone trying to sell me essential oils again. That happens more than you'd think when your name ends up on too many weird email lists. But this wasn't email. This was a text. An unknown number. No profile picture. No contact name. Just one line. You deserve the truth. She's been lying to both of us. I stared at it for longer than I'd like to admit. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I did. Too quickly. That was the terrifying part. That my brain didn't resist the idea that Delaney might be lying to more than just me. That there was someone else out there, tangled in her web, just like I was. For a full hour, I didn't reply. I just sat there rereading the message, imagining who it could be. An ex? A coworker? Some guy who thought he was the only one? Or, and this thought really ruined my stomach, was this Reese himself? At 8:49 a.m., I cracked. My thumbs hovered like I was defusing a bomb. Then I typed, "Who is this?" No reply. I paced. I folded and refolded the same hoodie 3 times. I washed a mug that wasn't even dirty just to keep my hands moving. Every 5 minutes, I checked the phone. Nothing. Until 10:11 a.m. That's when I got the photo. No caption. No explanation. Just a picture. It was taken from inside a parked car, looking through a windshield. I could tell by the glare on the glass. In the photo, Delaney, sitting outside a cafe, wearing the same red dress from the rooftop post. No makeup now. Hair pulled back. Talking to a man across the table. He wasn't facing the camera, but I saw enough. He was older, gray at the temples, broad shoulders, business casual. The kind of man you only see in commercials for luxury insurance plans or fancy razors. And she was smiling. Not polite smiling. Not networking. She looked happy, relaxed, like she'd done this a dozen times before. But here's the part that made me sit down without realizing I'd done it. They were holding hands. On the table. Not hidden. Not subtle. Just 2 people in the middle of the morning, clutching fingers like they didn't have anything to hide. I stared at that photo until the screen dimmed itself. Then I got the second message. This is from yesterday morning. She told me she was single. That broke something in me, because I realized what this really was. I wasn't the only one being made into a fool. I was just the quietest one. The one who folded towels and paid bills and stayed up wondering if he was too clingy or too soft or not man enough. Meanwhile, Delaney was building stories for everyone in her life and hoping none of us ever met. But someone else had met her. Someone believed her. And now they didn't. I replied again. Why are you telling me this? This time, the answer came fast. Because I didn't know she was married. And because she just walked into my office and lied to my face. I blinked. Office. This guy wasn't just some fling. I zoomed in on the photo again. And that's when I noticed it. On the table, beside the coffee cup, was a folder. Labeled with the name of a law firm I recognized from one place only. The envelope Delaney had tried to hide under the microwave 2 weeks ago. That's when it all started to click. Delaney hadn't just been cheating on me. She'd been setting something up. And now, the man she lied to? He wasn't just her new boyfriend. He might be her divorce attorney. The moment I saw the law firm logo, something in my chest locked up. I recognized it immediately. Kingston, Hall, and Warner LLP. I only knew the name because of that strange, white envelope Delaney once shoved under the microwave. I had found it by accident while cleaning, and when I asked her what it was, she gave me the same line she gave when she deleted text threads. It's nothing. You're overthinking again. But it wasn't nothing. And now it was in a photo sent by a man who'd been lied to just like me. It was all starting to make sense, in the worst possible way. Delaney had been laying groundwork. Not just sleeping around. Not just disappearing into wine bars and rooftop lounges. She was planning. Coordinating. While I was sitting in our cold apartment counting change, she was out there writing an alternate version of our marriage. One where I didn't exist. Or worse, one where I was the villain. I kept staring at that folder in the photo. It felt radioactive. I replied again to the unknown number. Did she say my name? Did she mention me at all? The typing bubble showed up almost instantly. She said her ex was still harassing her, that he wouldn't leave her alone. That's why she was stressed. I didn't even know she was married. I read that twice, my palms suddenly sweating. Her ex. She was telling people I was her ex. Not her husband. Not her separated partner. Just some harasser she was trying to shake. The rewriting of our entire relationship was so fast, so surgical, I couldn't keep up. And now I wasn't even the sad husband anymore. I was the problem in her new narrative. That's when something shifted in me. Something unfamiliar. Not rage. I wish it had been rage. It was something colder. Clarity. I stood up and walked over to the kitchen drawer where we kept all the random junk, coupons, batteries, takeout menus, and every spare document that didn't have a home. I rummaged through it until I found the envelope she tried to hide. It was still there, slightly crumpled, sealed. My name written in the top corner in faint ink. I opened it. Inside were printed pages. Legal paperwork. Initial petition for dissolution of marriage. No date yet. No signature. Just drafts. But the attached notes. Oh, the notes were typed from Delaney's email address. All to a woman named Marla Ferguson, one of the attorneys at that firm. And one of the messages included something I never expected to see. Please make sure he doesn't see this. If he gets triggered, things might escalate. Triggered? Escalate. Was she building a legal case against me before even filing? There was another email that chilled me worse than the late rent notice ever could. It said, if he pushes back, I'll use the texts. I have enough. I sat down right on the floor again. I felt like I was sinking. The phone buzzed in my hand. It was the unknown number again. She just stormed out of my office. Accused me of spying. I told her I reached out to you. She said, well, now you'll see who he really is. I didn't reply. I just sat there and thought about the text she might be referring to. All the times I sent desperate messages asking where she was, begging her to come home, to talk, to explain. Was that what she meant by evidence? Was she going to paint my begging as harassment? She was playing chess while I was clinging to checkers. And I started to wonder, what if this wasn't just about a divorce? What if she'd planned for me to snap? What if this whole thing, the lies, the silence, the sudden accusations of being controlling, wasn't just emotional neglect, but a setup? And then I remembered something else. Something stupid. Insignificant. Until now. Last week, I noticed one of our neighbor's outdoor cameras pointing slightly toward our building. I hadn't thought anything of it at the time. But now, I wasn't sure if I was being watched, or recorded, or framed. And worst of all, I still missed her. I didn't leave the apartment that day. I barely left the couch. I just sat there with the envelope open on the table, the pages fanned out like a crime scene, my phone dimmed beside them, waiting for another blow to land. The silence was louder than anything else. No messages, no calls, just the ticking of the cheap plastic clock Delaney once said made the kitchen feel lived in. Funny how the things she picked to make a space feel real were always hollow. Around 2:30 p.m., I finally peeled myself off the cushion and made a decision that felt both stupid and necessary. I grabbed my hoodie, the one with the ripped drawstring she always said made me look like a washed-up college kid, and walked 2 doors down to speak to our neighbor, Greg. Greg's a retired machinist. Grumpy. Chain smoker. The kind of guy who waters dead plants out of habit. But he's the only one in our building who owns one of those internet doorbell cams that face sideways across the parking lot. I knocked. Twice. No answer. I was about to give up when I heard the bolt slide. What? Hey, Greg. Sorry to bug you. I was wondering if, you still got that camera set up? He squinted at me. Suspicious. Why? I think someone was outside our place last week. I'm just trying to see if maybe it caught anything. He grunted, stepped aside without a word, and pointed to his monitor. What I saw made my stomach seize. There it was, 3 nights ago. A black SUV pulling up around 1 a.m. Delaney gets out. Alone. She walks toward our building, then stops at the corner, right where the camera's view is clearest, and just stands there. For almost 5 minutes. She checks her phone, glances up at the camera, looks back at her phone again. Then, and this part I'll never forget, she takes out her phone, presses something, and begins recording herself. Right there. Crying. Talking into the screen. Hands shaking like she's scared. Glancing nervously toward our unit. She makes herself look terrified. I watched it without breathing. She was staging it. I don't know what she said. The camera had no audio, but the pantomime was obvious. She was building something. Documenting fear. Maybe to show her attorney. Maybe to show someone else. A neighbor. A judge. But I wasn't there. I hadn't even been awake. I was in bed, headphones in, watching a video about how to fix a squeaky dryer door. Greg scratched his beard. That your wife? I nodded slowly, barely able to get the word out. Yeah. You too good. Not really. He shrugged, lit a cigarette right there in the kitchen, and said, women are smarter than us, pal. Sneakier, too. You want me to send you this clip? Yes. Please. He transferred it to my USB drive. No questions asked. Back home, I watched it again. Zoomed in. Slowed it down. Analyzed her face like it was a map of lies. She looked so convincing. If I didn't know better, even I would have believed her. And that's what scared me. Because what if she was showing this video to someone right now? What if that man at the law firm wasn't just an attorney, but a witness? Someone who could say, yes, she came to me, terrified. He was unstable, controlling. She cried in my office. The trap wasn't just emotional anymore. It was visual. It was tactical. I looked back through our messages from the past few weeks, and it was all right there. Innocuous phrases that could be ripped out of context. Please talk to me. I just want to understand. Why are you out again tonight? Are you okay? You're not answering. To me, they were desperate pleas. To someone else, they could look like obsessive harassment. It wasn't just that Delaney was leaving. It was that she was rewriting the story of our entire relationship and casting herself as the victim and me as the monster. That's when my door buzzed. Not a knock. A buzz. Our building only has a front entrance intercom. No one uses it unless it's serious. I walked over and pressed the speaker. No one answered. But then I heard footsteps down the hall and a soft knock at my actual door. I looked through the peephole. It wasn't Delaney. It was a woman I'd never seen before, holding a manila envelope, wearing a name tag from Kingston, Hall, and Warner LLP. I didn't open the door right away. Something about the woman standing there felt wrong. Not dangerous, exactly. Just rehearsed. Like she knew I'd be watching her through the peephole and had practiced how to look non-threatening. Polished black flats. A beige blouse. Straight shoulders, calm smile. A messenger of destruction dressed like an HR manager. I opened the door just halfway and kept the chain on. Mr. Renner? She asked, voice smooth and professional, like she'd said that name 100 times today. Yeah. I answered, my voice cracking slightly. I hated how I sounded, like a kid caught stealing. I'm here to deliver documents on behalf of Kingston, Hall, and Warner. May I hand them to you? Do I have to sign anything? No, sir. Just a standard delivery. I shut the door without another word, removed the chain, then opened it again. She handed over the manila envelope like it weighed nothing, but my hand trembled the moment it touched mine. Her smile didn't budge. Have a good day, she said, and walked off without another glance. I locked the door behind me. All 3 locks, then stood with my back against it, staring at the envelope like it might detonate. It didn't. It just sat there in my hands, innocent looking, but I could feel the heat coming off it. Or maybe that was just me. I was sweating through my shirt. I sat down, peeled it open, and pulled out the pages. The first one hit me like a punch to the teeth. Petition for protection from harassment and emotional distress. Filed under Delaney's name. Dated 3 days ago. The rest? It was worse. Paragraph after paragraph of carefully chosen words, stacked together like ammunition. She'd accused me of obsessive surveillance, digital intimidation, verbal coercion. Screenshots of messages, real ones, but isolated and recaptioned to twist the meaning. Times when I begged her to respond were now labeled as emotional pressure. A voicemail I left, crying, after she ghosted me for 2 days, was described as manipulative breakdown behavior. And the cherry on top? She said she feared escalation, that she no longer felt safe coming home, that she'd documented multiple concerning interactions. No police reports, not yet, but the phrase, pending decision, was underlined in red. There were witness names. One of them was her friend Mara. Another was someone named Reese Walters, the Reese, apparently. But there was also a third name that made my blood stop moving. Gregory March, neighbor. Greg, the man who gave me the footage. She had already gotten to him. I nearly dropped the papers. My vision blurred, chest tight. I tried to remind myself to breathe. In. Out. Just paper, I kept telling myself. Words. They're just words. But they weren't just words. They were legal weapons, sharpened and arranged, waiting to be fired. I called Greg. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "What's going on?" No reply. That's when I noticed something else in the folder. A smaller, sealed envelope. Inside was a single handwritten note. Not typed. Not official. Delaney's handwriting. "This doesn't have to be ugly. You need help. I want you to be okay. Please accept this for both our sakes." There was no love. No apology. No warmth. Just the implication that I was the threat. The unstable one. That this wasn't revenge, it was mercy. I sat there shaking. It wasn't just about leaving me anymore. She wanted to destroy the record of who I was. Replace it with a version that made sense to her, and to everyone she showed it to. She wasn't divorcing me. She was erasing me. And then came the knock. Not the door. The window. I turned, heart in my throat. Standing outside, on the fire escape, was a woman. Hood up, sunglasses on. Motioning for me to open the window. It wasn't Delaney. It was someone else. And in her hand, she held my name, written on a legal envelope, but crossed out with black marker. For a second, I thought I was hallucinating. Maybe I hadn't slept in longer than I realized. Maybe I finally cracked under the weight of all the unread texts and folded accusations. But no, she was real. A woman. On the fire escape. Dressed like someone hiding from the world. Hoodie drawn tight. Sunglasses low. A plain black folder in her hand with my name scrawled in thick black marker. Then crossed out. She knocked again, gently, like she didn't want the building to know she was there. I hesitated. Everything about this screamed wrong. She could have been one of Delaney's people. A setup. A reporter. A private investigator. Or worse, a witness pretending to help just to bait me into more erratic behavior. But I opened the window anyway. Because honestly, at that point, I had nothing left to lose. The air outside was sharp. Cold. She stepped in quickly, closing the window behind her like she'd done it before. "Camden, right?" she asked quietly, pulling the glasses off. Her voice was soft but urgent. Her eyes were red. Not from crying. More like she hadn't slept in days. She looked maybe late 20s, but it was hard to tell under the hoodie and exhaustion. "Who are you?" I asked, still clutching the back of a chair like it might protect me. "My name's Karis. I used to work for the firm your wife is using." Used to. That landed hard. She handed me the black folder. Inside were printed emails. Dozens of them. All from Delaney. Some from her personal account. Others from a firm-managed client cloud I had no access to. And all of them, shockingly, were about me. But not just me. There were references to other men. Conversations about building a pattern. Instructions to the legal team about how to prep narrative in stages. A bullet point list titled Project Exit. My stomach turned. "This isn't real," I muttered, flipping through the pages. "It is," Karis replied. "And it's not just you. She's done this before." I looked up. What? She wasn't always Delaney. I worked for the firm 2 years ago under a different partner. We had a client, similar case. Same words. Same structure. Same ending. Emotional manipulation, false documentation, and the same law firm quietly dropping any pushback. But this time, she's escalated. "She's lying to the court. She's lying to everyone," Karis said. "And they're letting her." I sat down hard. My legs didn't want to hold me anymore. She continued, voice low. "I wasn't supposed to keep any of this. I was told to delete client-side backup files. But I made copies. Because it felt wrong. Like, crafted. The emails weren't emotional. They were transactional. Choreographed. And the way she spoke about you?" She paused, hesitated, then added, "She doesn't see you as a person. She talks about you like a hurdle." I wanted to throw up. Not because of the shock. I think I was past shock by that point. But because it all made sense. Every cold stare. Every evasive answer. Every time she accused me of being too intense when I just wanted to talk. She hadn't been pushing me away out of confusion or heartbreak. She was disassembling me. Karis slid one last sheet of paper toward me. It was a typed memo, and signed, undated, but clearly recent. "If subject resists, frame as escalation. Use past behavior logs plus voicemail as supporting emotional instability. Leverage incident window footage if he confronts her at building. Recommended. Deploy separation narrative by second week of October." I blinked. "What is this?" "A strategy note," she said. drafted by one of the senior paralegals. I wasn't supposed to see it, but it means she had this plan for months. Down to how you'd react. Down to using your reactions against you. I leaned forward, my forehead pressing into my palms. All of it. The staged crying. The photos sent by the man she was sleeping with. The scared text at 2 a.m. It wasn't random. It was a campaign. But why me? I asked, barely whispering. Why go this far? Karis's face shifted, like she wanted to say more, but couldn't. Then finally, I think she's after something. Something bigger than just getting away. I looked at her, confused. What do you mean? She mentioned money. Old money. A property deal. Someone named Lorraine. I don't know who that is. But she said you didn't even know it existed. That name froze me. Lorraine was my mother. And I hadn't spoken to her in 6 years. Lorraine. I hadn't said that name out loud in years. And I hadn't heard anyone else say it since the day I walked out of my childhood home with a half-packed duffel bag and a silent agreement that some relationships were just too broken to fix. Karis was watching my face carefully. Who is she? She asked. My mother, I said slowly. We're not close. She's important. Delaney kept referencing the trust, the cabin, the clause. She was researching inheritance laws, spousal rights after death, and this is what got me spooked. She sent a memo asking if divorce before probate finalization could still allow secondary claims on property through emotional distress filings. I didn't understand half the legal jargon, but one thing clicked. Delaney never wanted a clean break. She wanted access. My mom, as cold and complicated as she was, had always made one thing clear. When she died, her estate would pass through a trust. A messy, layered one. I never thought about it, never expected anything from her, and frankly figured she'd leave it all to her garden club or her cats. But now I was starting to realize Delaney had known something I didn't. She didn't just want out of our marriage. She wanted a piece of something that hadn't even reached me yet. And to get that, she needed me to play a role. The obsessive, dangerous husband. The liability. The reason she needed compensation. But Karis changed that. Thanks to her documents, her willingness to risk her own career, I finally had proof that I wasn't spiraling. I was being baited. We worked fast. She got me in touch with a quiet, but brilliant, local attorney she trusted. Someone who didn't blink twice when I dropped a pile of unofficial internal firm memos on his desk. We filed an injunction. We froze the process. And more importantly, we filed first. My own legal petition. Calm. Precise. Supported by emails, surveillance manipulation, and the memo where Delaney literally scripted out how to push me into a meltdown. That's when things changed. The calls from Delaney stopped completely. No more 2 a.m. messages. No knocks at the door. Her story began to fall apart when her own firm realized someone on the inside had turned the lights on. I heard through Karis that 2 paralegals had been let go. Another partner retired early. Then, one morning, I received a handwritten letter. It was from Lorraine. No return address. Just her loopy cursive. Camden. I heard what happened. Not everything, but enough. The trust is real. The cabin is yours. I always wanted to believe you'd grow into a man who would protect what matters. Maybe now, you finally understand why I kept some things quiet. Be smarter than I was. L. Enclosed was a legal certificate. Property in Oregon. A 2-bedroom cabin by the water. No mortgage. No liens. It was mine. Free and clear. And Delaney? She tried to fight the claim. Once. But when our legal team revealed the staged footage from Greg's camera and added the edited voice messages she'd tried to submit, the firm representing her quietly withdrew. The entire process dissolved before it ever became a public case. She lost. Completely. No alimony. No settlement. No access to the trust. The last I heard, she moved out of state. Alone. As for Karis, she didn't go back to the firm. She took some time, then applied to grad school. For something completely different, trauma psychology. She said, helping you reminded me that people can rebuild. That's what I want to do now. Help others rebuild. And me? I left the city, packed up everything, which wasn't much, and drove out to Oregon. The cabin was old, but peaceful. Needs repairs. The porch sags. The roof leaks when it storms. But I've started fixing it up. I found an old photo album in the back closet with pictures of my mom before she turned bitter and afraid of the world. There were even a few baby photos of me. She kept more than I thought. Every morning, I sit on the dock with a mug of black coffee and no phone. The air smells like cedar and lake water. No buzzes. No accusations. Just the sound of birds and silence that doesn't accuse me of anything. For the first time in years, I'm not waiting for her to text back. Because now, she can't reach me. And even if she could, I wouldn't answer.